All we're missing is Aragorn. That
There
was
we go.
That was such a good time.
Let's wake him up.
I still have that coin on my desk.
So what were you saying, Space Ghost? That there's the extended version?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's just like a few more seconds longer, and it's not edited.
Let's watch it.
Posted it on his Instagram.
Share your screen. Let's watch it.
You know what? I have. Oh yeah. You know what? Let me just share that link.
Yeah. There we go. I had to switch from the Mire browser.
There we go. You know how to? Hey, Obi-Wan, how do you do it to share a screen on here so Space Ghost can share his?
Oh, it's at the bottom by your cam and mic settings. In the
okay, there it is,
page.
and then you click
There's a share button by the Leave Studio button.
Let me share this out on Twitter real fast.
But yeah, Obi-Wan, if you can believe it or not, at one point, us three plus Aragorn were all at a restaurant in Long Beach just chilling not too long ago.
I believe it.
And did you have a similar kind of crazy experience when you went to Dallas? Dallas was your first, that Dallas game was your first kind of a real life meetup within the community, right?
Yeah, it was cool. I met up with Neville and my friend flew in, Paul, who's Agent Phil Coulson. He's not super active, but he's he follows stuff. So he flew in, and then we met up with Neville at Pecan Lodge. We had some awesome Texas barbecue, and just a whole feast, and we just kind of just chatted there for a while. And then we went to oh gosh, what's the name of that place? It's something like Voyager related. Oh, we went to Heroes. It's a bar called Heroes. It's right outside the stadium. And so Stone Cold was there, and then Voltron was there, and he brought his friend Ashley Rao, who's like, she's Ashley Rao Rocks on Twitter, and Vika showed up, and who's the Black Widow, and we had Tasmanian Devil Robert was there. We had so many people. Obviously, DJ Crypto was there, and Isaiah was there, and it was a lot of fun. So we just kind of hung out, and then we went to the game, and then we came back, and after the game, we it was when like the crypto started crashing a little bit in December, and it was like kind of this mad dash to just go buy the dip. We were like on our phones, like, oh, whoa, look at these deals. It was cool because nobody was worrying about the prices dropping. We were all just looking at it like, oh, what a great opportunity. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we were so walking awesome from the Heroes restaurant up to the stadium, and we'd have people take like a group picture and be like, hey, here's a shirt, oh, what's this? It's Voyager. And then you get like a referral. And then you go walk up to the suite, and you're like, the bartenders and staff up there in the suite, they're like, what is this group coming through? Oh, we're Voyager or whatever. And then, here's a shirt. Here's a referral code. And one thing that was really funny is the suite next to us was a JP Morgan Chase suite. And and I don't think I've ever told this story online before, but some of the people from over there came over and started like trying to shill like mortgages, and we're like, oh no, look at this stuff we get from Voyager. And they're like, what's a Voyager? And I'm like, oh shoot, this is going to replace our jobs in a few months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you live? Are we recording this?
We're live right now.
Oh my God.
All right, so let me pull up.
I've been talking to Big Tico, and I want to go live with him to talk about like referrals. I don't know how that guy does it, but like I want hopefully like he could give tips to other people, to like have them get referrals and stuff like that. Help Voyager grow. That guy's insane. All the referrals he gets. Have you guys seen that?
His volume.
It's crazy.
He's on all the time, and then it helps to have friends like the Heroes, because sometimes you could take a break, and Obi and Lucky, and I at first when Big T started, I was there a lot, but then I got real busy, so I was only able to like listen and stuff like that, and that matters, because one thing is that you got to bring awareness to this token, and as much money as you pump into these marketing, it only reaches the same kind of people. And we've seen that through research. You're actually not really getting new people breaking through. You're just kind of like talking to the same people, right? So the way to beat that is word of mouth, organic growth, that guerrilla marketing, that person to person. That's really truly how you beat that, because that's how you break through the barriers and the obstacles and the fear and stuff like that.
Yeah, through personal experience, right? Like that's like the best. You show people what you're doing, and then you get them on that way.
Let me since I know you were sharing the screen, I'm gonna share the non-edited version of Steve.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I mean you guys can see it, right?
Yeah, let me add to the stream. There you go.
Yeah, because I don't have it. Oh, does that look crazy? Okay, let me fix that. I think I might know why.
Let's see if it has the.
Let me stop sharing.
Oh, let me stop sharing. Oh,
and then let me do it again. No, because I know why. It's just
No, Obi, man, that stream with you, holy moly, that went crazy.
Did that do okay?
Oh, it did really well.
Let me know when you guys are ready for me to play it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool.
I don't think it's sharing it.
Well, no, it was sharing, but now
it was not. Sharing it earlier, and then it got kicked.
Now it's not.
Oh, it's not sharing?
No, it's not sharing. You can add it again. Click that share. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, this thing is. Okay. You guys see it now, right?
Let's see. Yeah, it's down there. Let me just add it. Give me a sec. There it is. It looks perfect now.
We're good.
All right.
I can't. Can you guys hear it?
He looks like a kid in a candy store with that smile. I have to say.
He's got a baby face. No, I can't hear it either. Maybe is the volume on? It's all right.
Yeah, okay. I guess the audio for some reason is not going through.
It's all good.
I'll share the link.
It'll be live commentary.
Right, yeah.
Is it in your ear?
There's a large iced black.
So at one point he says Cadillac, and I don't understand why he says Cadillac.
I didn't get that either. I heard that too. I was like, Cadillac? I don't know why he said Cadillac. Yo, what's up, Donnie? What's up, Bill?
Maybe it's part of a clip that didn't make the video, or maybe it's a drink that's at the coffee shop. Who knows?
It would make sense here. It would probably on the
card looks high quality. It doesn't look cheap plastic, which is good.
Yeah.
And he's like, sweet. And then
I don't know. Maybe it's like an old school term.
I gotta tip him.
Celebrate him saying Cadillac. Yeah, I get it. Why it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, that looks cool, man. I'm excited for that, honestly. Paying my bills in that. Oh man, the stuff that I already. And then the cool thing is are you going to be able to do direct deposit on that?
Yes. Yeah, he confirmed that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be nice.
too, by the way.
Hey, finally, I'm going to be able to just say goodbye to my bank account, man. That's it.
Well, keep another account just in case those daily.
I'll keep it there, but I'm not going to use it anymore.
Yeah. There's going to be very interesting how it plays out in terms of how people try it out. As much as they test it, it doesn't actually really get tested until it's out in the real world. So there's going to be some limitations. We already, Baroness, you got to give credit to her. I looked at the details at the card agreement, the member benefits and terms and conditions. It seemed like a very rudimentary one. I would imagine it'll probably change because it seems very like a very just out of the box one that they kind of apply to that tier of kind of card, which is a prepaid debit. But it's pretty interesting to kind of look at the limits and what they charge for, and it looks pretty good so far. Doesn't look that crazy. Hopefully they do improve on it. Like the international fees is interesting. Because if you use it internationally, you do get charged a fee. So hopefully that's something that they improve on later as they add more utility, put more value into the system.
Wait, so there's gonna be international charges on it?
Yeah, it's a 3% fee.
Oh man, because
yeah,
it's gonna be MasterCard, right?
Yeah, it's MasterCard, but it's because of the tier of the card. It's a prepaid debit. So that.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of limited in the features that they offer. But considering it's a prepaid and it's free, it's actually still pretty good. But I'm hoping that as Voyager's revenue grows, they upgrade the kind of card in the tier, one that comes with more benefits.
Because I know that there's a MasterCard, the World Elite, and that one's like free on international.
Yeah, you're not getting that yet.
No.
I think right now, and I think it makes sense because this is the first time they're testing. I mean, remember in the white paper, it was like 0.1%, 0.2%, and I think they probably miscalculated that value. And I'm sure that it wasn't based on volume because they didn't expect this kind of volume of the user funded accounts until like 2024, 2023, 2024. So I just didn't think they. I think they understood that they needed to use the debit as a promo vehicle.
Yeah,
I think they get it now.
For sure. Floki, when are we doing another hangout, man? We need to do another one.
I mean, I'm down. You just gotta put it out there and do it. I think all we really need is 2 to 3 days heads up and just kind of constant reminders, jumping in spaces, talking to people about it, throwing tweets out there, and we'll get some new stories. We'll start hearing origins from.
No, I meant like an actual hangout, like in person.
Oh, yeah, soon, hopefully. I mean, the weather's getting better. It was a really nice day today.
Yeah, right.
Maybe a NorCal.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I finally put that whole put yourself on the map. I was checking it out. I mean, there's quite a bit of. I didn't think there was going to be so many in California, but there's quite a bit.
There are. I think we are. Are we number one? I know there's a lot of us in California, and then Texas is a spot, Florida is a spot, and then the Northeast and Chicago area. That's everywhere, I guess.
Yeah,
all the major spots.
Yeah,
we're all over, man. I can't wait to just travel and eat, just feast, straight up Viking feast everywhere we go. And we could revolve that around all the sports deals that Voyager has. Right? Whether we're going to a Dallas game or a NASCAR event, or who knows. So many possibilities. And I keep thinking about music because that's what was quoted in that article about how they're looking into music stuff. So,
hey Felix, you want to
put yourself on the map. California has the most heroes. 26 so far have put themselves on the map. Florida's number 2 with 20.
We need to split it.
JP, there's going to be international charges on the debit card. Yep.
How old
so far because that came out in November. When they in the first announcement, so we don't know what they're what's going to change, what they've updated, and we'll see what happens. As soon as we get the card, we'll actually have the actual real terms and conditions and the benefit page and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Oh man, what time is it out there, Space Ghost?
Right now, just turning 2:00 right now.
Holy
yeah, but it's Friday, so I'm all right. I took a nap earlier.
Right?
I wasn't busy today. Yeah, that's all right.
I also took a nap today. It was a heavy week. Good. A lot of reading this week.
Yeah,
a lot of typing.
Yeah, a lot of Floki's typing. How dare you not put that right now?
So what happened with the whole?
Anything else?
What happened with the whole NFT guy? The whole the guy that was selling. What was going on there? Because I saw it, but I didn't really look that deep into it.
That's an example of a real life Binance Smart Chain scammer.
Yeah,
a rug pull.
Looks good from the outside, right?
Yeah, right.
Long story short, there's just no heart behind it, in my opinion. He came in and was just kind of shilling his own pixel project, and then wanted to put the Heroes name on top of it. We said no, and we didn't want to back that up. We didn't feel that his engagement, whatever it was, we just didn't want our community to be taken advantage of. No money grab stuff. That's not what we're about.
So he wasn't even like part of the community. Like he would never like talk to the community or anything like that. It's just.
I mean, it's all in. You could just check on Discord, I believe. Yeah. But his activity level wasn't the kind where you should just jump in. I felt like he was taking advantage of our loyalty, and our connection, our friendship towards each other. And he had other accounts as well. So
doing the same thing with other communities, or what?
I mean, you should just go judge for yourself. To be quite honest, So I'm trying to do what's right, and everyone's free to do whatever they want. They could go to this guy and pay $80 for a 24 pixel thing if they want, but that's not something that I would support.
Yeah. So I bought one on Fiverr for $5. I sent them a picture of myself and I was like, make me one for $5 on Fiverr. And it was horrible. It was horrible art.
Yeah, I could show you a YouTube video that shows you how to do that pixel stuff too pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that too. I remember I wanted to do it for like a profile picture, but I paid some dude on Fiverr. It was horrible, man. But do you know anything about this, Floki? What the charges would be for fees for the debit card for non-VLP members? I don't know much about that.
No, I don't know the specifics yet. I'm kind of waiting for the excuse me, for that information to naturally surface and become apparent before I dive too deep. Yeah. But it sounds like that happened tonight. So I guess I'm gonna have to rewatch that part. I was cooking dinner during that part, so that's new intel, right, guys? This is not something that we.
And mind you, it was sitting there for months. It was there out in the public, so we can't complain that they don't give us the info. It's kind of up to us to actually do the due diligence. So shout out to Baroness for that, because I would have expected that when we got the card. So I didn't, I wasn't too worried about it. But this is important information, especially if you are calculating whether you're going to be using the card for big purchases. If you thought, hey, I'm going to wait to buy this card, but if it's a maximum 25,000 off ramp, a day, then you're buying a sub $25,000 card, right? Or are there exceptions? Can you call them, Metro, and then ask like, hey, I'm going to make a $50,000 purchase, and they say, okay, that's fine, even though our daily limit is 25. Like, sometimes you can do that, so it's going to be very interesting with a lot of these things.
I think Joel in the comments is right. I think it's MasterCard. A lot of that stuff that you read there with that debit card are very similar across other card platforms.
Yeah.
So and it's not that you have a 25,000 limit in your Voyager account. It's obviously limited USDC, right? It's just related to the actual card, and that's to prevent people from same thing with Voyager has a $25,000 withdrawal limit on your Voyager account. It's to prevent if for whatever reason you were bad at OPSEC and someone got a hold of your information and transferred funds, it'd be limited exposure. It's a security feature.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to modify that, just like you can call Voyager today and get that modified, I'm sure if you really wanted to have more risk involved, you probably could request it, just like requesting a balance increase on your credit card at whatever card you have now. But
yeah, it'll be interesting to know what they let you do and don't, because I know based on the tiered cards, it's based on that, say, okay, that's fine, but because of your tier, we can with that. And some of it is there, it tells you. I was looking at some of the info as well. Some things are not eligible. That are features that you can tell that the boxes would be checked yes if if this card was in another tier. So,
did you see you can have a virtual card or the plastic card and order additional cards?
Oh yeah, and then it's much cheaper. Yeah, then I think even if I said maybe a $40-$50 charge, and it's really I think it was $7. I think once a year you get one. And then you get additional ones after that. It's not too bad. And the virtual card is great because obviously that's Apple, Google Pay, and everything like that. It's fantastic. That definitely now extends. that definitely extends out, your kind of off ramp, like what you can do once you can upload it onto these virtual card wallets.
I'm gonna do something like Airborne. I found this little website right here. Random. Let's see, man. Let's see what pops up. What are you currently juggling in your life? I want to hear. Space Ghost, you're a busy dude. What are you juggling with in life, man?
Oh man. Well, I work at a cancer hospital. I work in health IT. So
oh man,
I'm pretty busy, but I'm lucky in the sense that I really like what I do, and I work for a great organization.
Yeah.
And they leave me alone. I kind of manage my own little system and stuff like that. So I kind of work off hours sometimes, just because there's a lot less interactions with staff and things like that, so I can concentrate and do more work. I have a 2.5-year-old, so anyone who has kids knows, that's always a lot. And that's really about it. And the hero stuff, crypto life, regular stuff, traditional. Always thinking about macro situations in life. Even tonight we got another update on war. The U.S. embassy is now going to be cleared out of Ukraine. That's an escalation step. So some people don't like that, because usually that means war is definitely coming. Citizens have now been told to leave. So it's like, 1 week after the Olympics is the time frame everyone's kind of looking at. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So you work at a cancer hospital, pretty much?
Yeah. I work for a cancer hospital in New York City. Yep.
Yeah, I had a coworker. She was actually my teacher mentor. So she was my mentor when I first became a teacher, and yeah, she just got diagnosed with cancer.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of new diagnoses now, unfortunately, because of COVID, because preventative health was paused for really what I think is an extended period of time. Preventative health is really, really important, because if you're able to identify your disease earlier, there's many more treatments and options to save your life and for you to eradicate that disease than once it takes over and it becomes debilitating. You have a lot less options. Your recovery percentage is a lot lower.
Yeah.
So I'm very big on preventative health. I also have a degree in healthcare policy and administration, so healthcare is something that's like right up my alley and things like that. So even though I work in IT, it's actually like I used to be a frontline healthcare worker that kind of saw the gap in healthcare and patients and technology. So I shifted over to IT and then stayed in IT. But you're going to see that now. One of my tenants, I'm also a landlord. I have a cool properties rent. One of my tenants literally a couple of weeks ago just told me she got cancer, and she's like 32. So it's like it's crazy. Yeah. So you're gonna probably see a lot in the next year or two, a lot more pop-up cancer diagnoses because of that.
Yeah, that's one of my fears, man. Like, how do you go about it? Like say myself, because cancer runs in my family, man. Grandpa died of cancer. Pretty much everyone in my dad had he had cancer, but he survived it. But it runs in my family. So myself, dude, that's one of my biggest fears. Like, how do I go about it to get yearly checkups or something, or what do you do?
Yeah, especially if it runs in your family, then technically you should definitely consider yourself at risk. So you preventative health absolutely has to be important to you, and you speak to your trusted medical provider consistently. Speak to the specialist. So if you know that your family runs consistent types of cancer, you'll see that with, for example, with things like melanoma. For some reason, it's kind of genetic. Like you're more prone. It's not like you get the cancer, but you're just more prone to get it. So if you happen to get it, you get it, and it's harder to recover and things like that. So there's different sort of circumstances when it comes to your family and and cancer. So it's definitely very important to do that,
sure.
Especially with breast cancer as well. Breast cancer is another one that's highly genetic.
Yeah. What about you, Floki? What are you juggling in life, man?
First of all, cancer is the fucking worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah, it sucks ass, man. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll try to bring us back up a bit here, but I mean it's so important. I lost my mother to cancer, so it's close to my heart. And it's in preventative care is so important. And one of the things that I'm balancing in life is just health, physical, mental, all that stuff. You could throw in spiritual if you want, just being at peace with yourself, being in harmony with your surroundings and stuff. Balance, work, heroes, family, the dog, health, seeing friends, dating, just trying to, we're young, right? Now's the time to kind of put your head down and grind, whether that's, working, networking, establishing things that, are going to go on once, I don't know, I have kids or something like that. And just kind of preparing for the future. So just doing what I can,
For sure.
Hey,
how'd that date go? If you don't mind sharing. You said you had a date, remember?
Was it the joke about like the dog date day last week?
I think so, something like that.
Airborne was like, "Oh, it's National Dog Date Day," and I'm actually here. I'm laying with my dog right now. Oh. So yeah, I'm on a date with her right now. So the date went great. She's with me 24/7, and
there you go, man.
I can't tell you how many times she kind of pulls me away from my computer. She'll just walk under me and start talking, and it's like, all right, let's go play. I've been thinking about doing a little series, maybe every morning, just throwing the ball for her and putting it out there because she's getting pretty good at catch.
Yeah. How old is she?
I'm 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
I'm fortunate. I also work in IT and I work from home from a great company. So it allows me to kind of be flexible and have vampire-like hours. You know what I'm saying? And it's nice. Life is good. I've been blessed. What else am I balancing? Oh yeah, existential dread. There's always that. Life is good. Trying to think. For sure. Yeah, that's what I'm balancing. Obi-Wan, what about you?
Yeah, just kind of the usual. It's family and, switched the kids' school at the beginning of this past semester, kind of a mid-year change, had to switch things up. Middle school, so lots of attitude and getting older and growing and all that kind of stuff, parenting. Yeah. Work, we're about to get into my really busy part of the year. So I'm juggling, trying to get ready for that and mentally prepared for the super long days. And then, lots of spaces and YouTubes and Discords and everything lately, which is fun though. That to me, I love hanging out with everybody and talking. So it's a good outlet, especially when, a lot of, as we get older, right? A lot of our friends, they grow up, they get families, you see them less, kids that families you used to hang out with that did activities together. The kids kind of grow up and do other things and you don't get to hang out as much as you did. And so having the outlet of like the heroes and being online is kind of, it's good for me that way. So just, that's pretty much all I got going on right now. We're moved back into the house. We've been here for a while. The only one thing broke in the freeze this year, and it wasn't something we had to evacuate the house for. So that was okay. But I was thankful for 76 today.
Nice.
What you're saying, Obi-Wan, it makes me think, all those friends and family members that kind of separate, like they're still close to you and you could pick up right where you left off. But if you don't have that one thing that sort of brings you together, whether it's, gaming or sports or whatever, for us, it's finances.
Yeah.
And everybody should be on top of their finances. So we're all bonded through that ever-present kind of mindset of, like you say, the crypto mindset. And so now it's more than just finances at this point, which kind of makes it even more sticky in a very wonderful way.
Yeah, I love it. Some people come and go, but I intend to be around for a while. So
yeah.
I mean, finances, like it could be like a game. It's all numbers, and the narrative is half of it. Like you do the math and you look at the charts and then you go, okay, what's the news?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all
go ahead
for me. At least
go
for me,
ahead, Felix. I see your mic.
What's up?
No, go ahead, investing guy. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like this is a cycle. It's like you're gonna have investors come in, get eaten by the system, and then they get spit out, and then you'll see them again later, and a few of them stay. Then a few of them others, they get turned out again, and they'll be back a few years later. Some of them do stay out, and you'll see some people who are completely like, I said, I'm done with crypto completely, and they actually are, because psychologically it's too much for them. Like crypto now is 24/7, with the traditional markets where like 9 to 5. So even where people would like, it would be so much where you even have stories where people would commit suicide because of the decisions that they made in the stock market. This is like real. This is like legitimate. Like this is an actual thing that has existed for, I would say, even over 100 years. Because even before the Great Depression, you had people over leveraging themselves. This is how old and back in the day this goes. And this is where a lot of the laws came in to prevent that and to control that. Now you have crypto that's 24/7, 7 days a week, no long weekends like you have in the traditional, where you have, holidays off and all that. Like, does not exist. You blink in crypto, you could lose your positions, you can get shorted, you can all these things can be liquidated. All these things can happen if you're playing with fire, and it can really, really mess with people's heads.
For sure. It's stressful, man. It's stressful. I mean, I know when I first got into it, I was like losing sleep. It was like, what price is Bitcoin now? I would be waking up at like 2-3 in the morning, but it was because I had way too much. I had way more money than I should have on Bitcoin and like other cryptos, and that's when I kind of like, if you could go back on my YouTube channel and you see when like I was like that's enough. I sold out a lot of my position and I said, I'm going straight to USDC. Like this is not good for my me up here. So I was like, I'd rather just go USDC, have a little bit of Bitcoin, have a little bit of, all the other things that I have, Ethereum, VGX, all that stuff that I wanted, still have it, but not as much as I had back then. It's like I'm up here, like slow and steady USDC. Like that's better for me, and that better for me and whatnot.
It can take a lot out of you if you're constantly managing the market. Usually that just means you've got too much risk in. Exactly. The whole saying, don't risk more than you're able to afford losing. Yeah. And then also a lot of times there's people do get over leveraged and they get wrecked because of the volatility in the prices. So being able to manage a margin or a risk or a loan is not for the faint of heart. You really have to know what you're doing and be experienced, or you will lose money. So yeah. I don't advise people do the degen stuff unless they really kind of get it.
What's up, Ryan?
Yeah. I remember my first crazy flash crash. It was, I think, February or March, where it was like the Kraken story, and they got in a lot of trouble for stop losses that got triggered and people wanted it back. VGX was like $6 and then it flashed down to the low 4s and it came right back. But it depends on like where you're at and what you're doing in terms of your finances. Like for me, when I was buying, I was drinking water before bed so I could wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, check the price and buy a little bit more, because I thought to myself, okay, American crypto company, VGX, maybe less volume while people are sleepy, those down hours, maybe we could catch. Felix, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, especially if you're playing around with gas. Like I tell people all the time, like you hear all the time people complain about gas, but if you really, really care, if it's really important to you, you can beat the gas. You can get ahead of the gas. You just got to know when to do it. There's literally sites that tell you the averages of the gas prices, so you can time it on what day is best on average. Now, is it like a law? No, but you can actually tell, like, hey, sometimes Tuesdays at 5 in the morning, it's like super low and it's the lowest of that week. So why don't pay attention and then do what you need to do on a Tuesday at 5 in the morning? If you're really, really, really that stuck on the gas price and it's limiting you on your decisions. Like the whole point of crypto is the freedom, right? So why are you being held in ETH gas hell in jail, right? It's like, don't allow it to do that. And it is legitimate, so I'm not even trying to downplay it, but you could beat it. You could beat it. Like I've shown people you can stake StormX for like $70. I've done it twice. You can do it under $10 stake. You know, it's like that's nothing. You can't say, you know, oh, I can't afford that, especially when you're staking up to level up in rewards when you've been putting in, you know, $1,500, you know, dollars of that investment. You're telling me $10 is too much to stake? No, it's not. You'll be fine. You'll make that up. You'll be okay.
Yeah, for sure. Man, let's see. I don't think I answered. Hey, man, you know, Obi-Wan, I was gonna say I'm a 6th grade teacher, man, and dude, oh my god, the girls are just insane at this age. Like, especially the week before Valentine's, it's horrible. It is horrible, I'm telling you. Like, I'm not even kidding. Today during lunch, you know, I'm walking away from the teacher's lounge. I'm walking to my classroom, and I hear a girl just bawling her eyes out in the restroom. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, someone must have fallen and broken their freaking arm or something, you know? And I being a dude, I don't go into the restroom, so I pull a random girl. I'm like, hey, go in there, go check what's going on. And she comes back and she's like, her boyfriend broke up with her. I'm like, she's in 5th grade. What? Yeah. I'm like, what? But she's like crying, bawling her eyes out. I see her walk out. She's like, I'm like, what the hell? Boyfriend?
And they take it really hard. Like, I mean, some of them hurt themselves, or they do really drastic things because, you know, they're not very advanced cognitive thinkers at that age, right? They're very binary, and they have to have labels and compartmentalize things. And that's why a lot of parents say, you're too young, don't date, don't, you know, there's reason we protect our children that way, right? And that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Sad boy hours. Sad for Perez. That's funny.
Yeah, it was man, this week was I'm telling you, like, any week before like holidays for teachers is tough, man. Christmas week, horrible. Halloween week, horrible. Valentine's week, horrible. I'm telling you, man. No, but let's see, man. I don't think I answered the question. What do I have juggling? You know, hey, Floki, I was thinking this, man. What do you think about this idea? Because I'm like super close to being monetized on YouTube, and like I want to say, like, any money that comes from there, like, I want to put it straight to VGX. You think that's a good idea?
I think you getting monetized is a good idea.
I'm almost there. I need a few more subs, but I'm like, that's like kind of my way of you know, I always like said, you know, I want to give back to the community, but like if I take like buying VGX, kind of giving back to the community, right? The VGX community.
I mean, sure. You know, there's nothing wrong with establishing your foundation, right? The stronger foundation that you set, the more you could give back in the long run. I think, Obi-Wan, you resonate with this about getting into that crypto mindset, getting out of the the cog of the Fed coupon wheel, so that you could actually start making a difference.
That's right.
I talk to a lot of people, and they're very passionate about all these different things, and I'm like, if we fix the economy, you know, everything else will probably fall into place. And that's just kind of what I believe. We would have more time to do those important things.
You're right.
Yeah.
You get out of those Fed coupons, out of that fiat mindset. Your stress just goes away. Like, I don't even look at the market prices all that closely in the morning. You know what I do? I just go out to the farm. I just harvest my crops in my liquidity pools, and then redeploy the funds. And it doesn't even matter, because I'm comfortable with, if I have any margin, I know I'm not over leveraged, and you know, I don't have any money in any one asset that I'm like, oh, I have to babysit this. You know, I'm comfortable where I'm at, and that just takes all the stress away of being in the market. So if you can't get to that point of having investments, which are truly investments and are long-term, you know, you're going to put money in something for a long-term and let it play out. If you're speculating too much, you're going to drive yourself mad. So just try to have a long-term crypto mindset, value your assets and in your time. What did it take you to buy that digital asset? And how is that how is that asset doing over time? In regards to its value, is it going up or is it going down? Is it going sideways? Is it impaired from your original thesis in which you have to then cut loose and go to something stronger? Just constantly be doing research and evaluating whether or not what you're invested in meets your original thesis. And if it doesn't, move your funds elsewhere.
Yeah.
Obi, it was interesting that I've been thinking about recently, right? Crypto mindset and fiat mindset. One thing that I'm struggling with is, as a property owner, I'm stuck thinking fiat for a little bit as I hold on to these properties, right? It's like I wonder what the next step is to move away from that. Like how are we one day going to evaluate our real hard tangible property assets in the real world against these new currencies and not against these debased currencies? Because if you think about it, we know a lot of these properties are overvalued. We know that the market is it's pretty high. It's pretty hot. So what happens when the dollar completely crashes? We know house prices crash. So it's like, if we move on and we revolutionize into a different system, we move forward to something better. How do we reevaluate these assets?
Eventually, money's going to flow from, or currency is going to flow from traditional different asset classes into the new asset class, which is digital. So money from real estate, money from precious metals, money from stocks, derivatives, those will eventually start rotating into digital assets as we start to value more things in terms of what's more liquid, what's easier to move, what's easier to hold. We become a little bit more nomadic. If they have to, if inflation continues to be a problem through debasement of the currency through money printing or quantitative easing, there's going to be a point where wages can't keep up with it, and then people aren't going to be able to use those Fed coupons to pay for goods and services, and they're going to elect to move to private money, right? Because that would be a better store of value. It's more stable, actually. The tables will flip. The private money will become more stable than the government money. And so eventually, as valuations in the marketplace change, people will start opting out of the government system and into the private system, and then that government system just kind of fades into the background.
Yeah.
But that we're probably still a ways away from getting there. Yeah. But there's already people that if you wanted to, you could take your rent payments in Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, what? I have seen that. I do know there is, of course, always a third-party processing issuance. So I wish there was a way where we can get there and cut the middleman, because that's the whole point. So there's still a lot of middlemen to on-ramp. I would love to get to the point where I can just go directly to them and they can just click the QR code in the picture, and then that's it. That allows them to always. It's like through the smart contract, they're always sending me their rent. I think when we get there, it's going to make these transactions so much easier, because I will never have to ever do that again. It's like the smart contract would always be there as long as they're there.
Yeah, if you have your rental agreement drawn up in a way that you accept this type of money or this type of currency based, and it's kind of in there and you're covered from a legal aspect, you can go to the Meyer wallet, for example, and generate a QR code and say, here's the specific code where you pay your rent.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, right? You have to try.
And then and then that goes there. Or there's going to be things in the future where, like on Terra, there's a few things where you can deposit an amount of savings, and then through the yield that savings generates, it automatically pays your bills. So like your subscription plans or your utilities or your rent, they're all getting paid off of your yield, and then you just have your nest egg. So when you cancel your service, you just withdraw it from that contract that's paying for that service or that bill. So that works really well for people that have saved and have that opportunity, because then it really kind of relieves all that pressure, because you've got an investment that's literally paying for your goods, and then you can focus your attention elsewhere. But in terms of like rental properties, you probably heard me say this before, where, instead of having rental properties, I put that money into digital assets instead that have like a staking yield.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. I've been saying that for months too. And like I said, I'm a real estate guy because before for me, I'm a big passive income residual guy, so that was the way you did it before. Well, now that landscape has changed, and the ability to get into the passive income vehicle through real estate now is one, it's overvalued. Two, there's just too many issues, and then the growth is really limited. So there is a legitimate question where you're asking yourself that you're getting this in fiat. Your growth is based on your capitation rates, based on your market, based on how sensitive your market is in your area. So there's a lot of factors in play of you're asking yourself what you're able to do, and those are some of the cons. Now there's a lot of bonuses in terms of the tax leveraging, in terms of the flexibility that you get with the passive income and the residuals, and then with the future equity that you build into, which allows you a large pool of liquidity you can access in the future at a low rate that you can then grow. So there are still some positives, but I agree. If you're looking to start right now and you don't have a lot to start, the best way is creating passive income vehicles through digital assets. I mean, right now it's just too easy. It's just easier. It's just the easiest way.
Yeah. And that some of that will come with regulatory clarity. Like right now, most digital assets are classified as property, but they don't have all of the same tax advantages that regular property have. It'll get better though. It will get better over time. For some people, you'd probably rather have your rental come, or your money from passive income come in the form of income, as opposed to, having to sell an asset, for example. But it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I know. For me, like one thing that's like keeping me from like going like big, like just buying more Bitcoin, buying a lot more VGX and whatnot, is that I'm like, the money that I'm investing with is like money that I had for my house down payment, but then the housing market just went up and like it was nothing, I was looking for like 10%, and when I finally got to that 10%, that's when the housing market just took off, and I'm like, man, like what is this? So that's why so much of it is in USDC. I need like something stable because I'm playing with money that's going to be for my first home. So,
there's a lot of, we're kind of still in an advantageous position here in the United States where houses are still somewhat affordable, being about 7 times the salary. It takes about 7 years not 7 times the salary. It takes about 7 years to save up for the 20% down payment on average. But there's other places like New Zealand where that's, close to 20 times, right? Wow. And other places around the world that are maybe more densely populated and there's not enough opportunities to purchase. Like China's like crazy expensive. Over 30% of their wealth they store in real estate. And so the wealthy that have multiple properties are, strongly advantaged over the person that, works in a rural community somewhere outside the city, and takes probably 30 years of savings to be able to get enough money to buy a property. So that's viewed in very high esteem if you're a property owner.
Yeah. So in China, like only the wealthy own property. That kind of reminds me. I heard of someone saying that that's kind of what's gonna end up happening here in the U.S. with like BlackRock and all those companies just purchasing a bunch of properties. I'm not sure how real it is, how true it is.
That was a little bit different. All right, so for the Chinese, the elites, they actually would buy New York real estate. That's what they used to do, and that was a way for them to cheat some of the tax liability that they had in China, which is actually higher than it is here, and as a sort of like a store of value, because they know they can always resell it at an appreciated price, and they don't really care what that percentage is, as long as it's better than what they got it at. But that's changed a lot recently. That's tightened a lot. China has definitely curtailed a lot of that.
Yeah. Mentioned a few things here. I'm trying to tie them all together with what you said, the investing guy, about you saving to get a house and property and inflation and all that stuff. And before Voyager adjusted the spending return, they 10x'd it for the debit card. I was trying to think of use cases that made sense for the debit card. And I think you are a perfect example of that, where you're trying to save without losing potentially access to your savings, right? You don't want to risk putting all of this stuff you're saving for a house, just something that you need, right? You know, you think about property, I think about function, you know, like you don't want to make sure that you're actually functioning off that property. So primary residence, it's very important. And maybe one or two rental properties as well, and tying it to crypto. It's like, and that transition between when we go from valuing property on money versus Bitcoin, for example, it just makes me think it's so important not to be over leveraged in any particular asset right now. I think we could all agree that the digital asset is the primary one, but still, we just never know what the hell is going to happen, right? So you could be over leveraged in too many investment properties just as easily, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I need to sell, and the market tanks and you're screwed. So I mean, in any way, I don't think you're far off.
That's why everyone's scared of war, because that's the one that resets everything.
Yeah.
You need energy, consistent energy to run these networks, and war is the one threat that actually can stop that. Like real war, not the BS stuff that we've seen, like legitimate the world powers like going at it. Like that would be really bad.
Yeah. That would be really, really bad. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Man. The global economy and how a lot of the countries impact one another almost dissuades full-on war like we saw in the last century, because we're so tightly knit. Most countries can't be self-reliant. They have to. They have so much reliance on the global trade that it'd be, you know, any kind of war of any kind of major manufacturing capacity would be, or food production would be, you know, it would have ripple effects throughout the rest of the world. Now, Russia going into Ukraine, their neighbors, their resources are kind of similar. Ukraine's got a GDP of like 650 billion, something like that. Like, it's not, on the grand scheme of things, very relevant in terms of disrupting global politics and trade and macroeconomics. So, I mean, it's kind of more of a news headline right now, whether that's full-on conflict or Ukraine just says, sure, come on in, and, you know, oh, you don't like us siphoning gas or doing whatever it is that they're doing that Russia doesn't like. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, your neighbor, you know, builds a dam and diverts the water, and what rights do they have to do that? And then you have this squabble about it, and then, you know, it plays out on the global courts, I guess. But that's kind of what's going on there. So big brother, little brother, kind of having to fight over who's diverted the water or the oil, right? So, but is that going to tank the markets? Just like any time there's FUD. I mean, the market finds a reason to be fearful. It's almost like it searches for that problem just for a reason to have people be able to buy the dips.
Yeah. An interesting note on the Ukraine, right? So I actually studied the Ukraine a little bit when I mentioned earlier, stream, you know, I studied at Stony Brook, right? It's like a SUNY state school in New York. So I studied political science, international relations, and macroeconomics. So I actually studied the Ukraine about 1999 to 2001. And actually studying their disarmament of nuclear weapons, because they were actually the third largest nuclear holder of weapons. A lot of people don't know that, because they were part of USSR. So it's not they themselves did it, but when it broke up, they actually were one of the main storages of these bombardments. So they actually were a critical part of the global campaign of disarmament, of nuclear disarmament, and all the peace treaties. So they actually agreed to go completely zero. They have zero nuclear weapons now, but people are saying now this is what happens when you do that, because if you had at least one, Russia wouldn't be at your doorstep. Russia wouldn't have taken Crimea. You know what I mean? So like, this is one of the things, and I'm pro obviously nuclear disarmament, but it's a geopolitical lesson for sure. And I think this is actually going to dissuade any future nation who has gotten warheads to let them go. Because I don't think we're gonna see that, because this is going to be a lesson in that.
For sure. Man.
Yeah. The internet will keep us all together.
I hope so.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
and just keep the world in check. But we'll see what happens.
I don't want to lose my internet friends.
I've always said technology will save us all, but we'll see. That or destroy us. We'll find out. I'm willing to gamble. We're all degens here.
Mm-hmm.
Man, next week, big week, huh? Earnings week for Voyager.
Yeah,
15th.
Tuesday morning.
15th.
I'm sure that's tough for your West Coast guys. That's around the time that I take my daughter to daycare, so I'll be driving, listening in.
Well, we already know it's 165 million in revenue. We don't know the cost. Yeah, we don't know the cost of the final funded accounts, whether it's 1,050,000 or 1,100,000, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of repetitive. The only thing is like, hey, we get these a little bit more often, but then it's kind of like the eye roll because they're gonna just repeat a lot of same info we've kind of gotten. But I'm looking forward to some tidbits. I'm hoping they have some little updates,
And someone in the community is gonna break it down, and we're gonna get it.
Right.
Probably a good bet.
Obi-Wan. Wait, where are you? Over here.
Well, another thing that I find most useful about those calls are the questions and answers that come at the end of the presentation. And usually you get some forward-looking statements or questions about maybe they'll release kind of where their current numbers are, or maybe they'll firm up a date on a roadmap of a product that's being delivered, or a partnership that's evolved or something. Those are the cool things to kind of track.
Yeah, I would love some updated VLP numbers. I know they gave us that little nugget. I think it was 20% total, something like that, or VLP. They gave us some kind of nugget last time.
15% a month over month growth is the number. But I think that the VLP is somewhere in the 20-ish% range.
Right. That's. I know they gave us something. I forgot exactly what it was. Very small, but it was like enough to give you a little gleam into what they're looking at, because they don't share too much. But it'll be really great to see.
Yeah. I mean, when I broke it down, my numbers, my forward projecting numbers, I was using the 33% penetration on a 2.4 to 2.8 million customer base. I mean, that could be on the low end if they get the debit cards in the hand of all the users that want them by April, and they get international expansion by April. There's a potential that could be exceeded. But I mean, I'm going to be a little bit more on the cautious side of projections, because they do have to wrangle in so many different vendors and the lawyers and the jurisdictions that they have to operate in. A lot of the stuff that they're building is outside their hands. Market Rebellion's building the stocks. The old they got the LGO, former LGO, and they've got the Coinify over there in Europe doing different aspects of the infrastructure that they need, right? The payment rails, the smart router ordering that they spent 2 to 3 years building over here in the States. They're trying to do in less than a year over there. Like, they're moving fast, right? They've got a team. But they do have to rely a lot on vendors, and I think that's kind of where the comments of the 100 blockchain devs and developers they have contractors and employees. I mean, that's almost a third of their workforce, right? So I mean, they're super heavy and moving down that path right now.
And some of the things between the numbers as well, little nuggets sometimes come out of those calls. I believe it was the first time I heard it where they really solidified that, yes, we are prioritizing having a phone number with a real person to pick up, which is a big drop. That's a big nugget.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we're going to double our employee base by June, or those types of things that often don't get asked by maybe the token investors, but the stock investors want to know, right? Because that's that in fact impacts margins. And, is it going to take 4 months to repay a customer acquisition or 3 months or,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always tell people when people come about these kind of expenses, right? Like especially the job growth, I said, if you already had X amount of growth, you actually should be thinking about it backwards. Like it should be baked into the revenue instead of thinking forward. Like, hey, I'm going to repay it back. You made X amount % revenue with these limited employees. You're literally rewarding yourself with these extra employees instead of forward thinking that this is a future expense. So I hate when small companies think that way instead of actually being, kind of like, hey, we're rewarding ourselves with the revenue that we've achieved with the expansion. Like it's actually you're investing in as opposed to they think of it as an expense and how am I going to repay it back?
Yeah. Hey, Donnie, what type of car are you going to get? He said he's going to get a new car when he receives his Voyager card. Nice.
Well, definitely, it's going to be interesting. I would definitely check out what the maximums are that you'll be able to process. That's what everyone's interested in and wants to see. Because you get how fast does that take? How easy it is? Is it just a call 1, 2, 3? That kind of stuff.
If you're buying a car, all you need is the down payment.
Yeah, the down payment, and then
take the cheap financing, arbitrage the difference
and then pay it later. Yep.
with your USDC.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You could, if you have enough USDC, you could be paying the car note with it.
Yeah, I was going through this example with my cousin as well as on an earlier space that had come up a few times. And the question was like, well, do I get the car loan or do I take the HELOC out and then stick the money in USDC? Because if I'm borrowing at 4% and Voyager's giving me 9 or 10 or whatever, I'm like, yeah, well, that's a pretty obvious arbitrage, right? If you're making 10 and you're paying 4, you got 6% profit there.
Yeah.
So you can pay down your loan faster, or you can take that extra money and throw it into a store of value that is better than dollars.
Yeah.
That's what makes me think properties are just such a sweet deal, because if you can find someone else to pay your fat ass mortgage for you and use the debit card to utilize all of those bonuses and say that everything is a business expense because it's not your primary residence, it's just like a property owner's wet dream. I mean,
Floki, let me put it this way. We should have a calculator that's a rolling calculator where you put in your expenses for your property that you use with your Voyager card with your percentage and see how long it takes you to make your expense back. Because if you're paying your water, if you're paying your electricity, you're paying your property tax, you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your insurance, if you're navigating, you're getting 3%. How fast are you going to make that? You're going to make that money back.
We have a calculator for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what I mean is like, one like literally that's rolling, like not when you put it yourself. I'm talking about one that like notifies you, like, boom, you just reached that point where you made your money back. Like that would be fantastic. No, yeah, of course you can always like calculate it. These calculators are fantastic. It's helped me a lot to kind of foresee what to make trades and to calculate that in.
You mean the Lambo calculator?
That's right. You know what? That's I like that.
Not the Lambo.
The crane on Mars.
Lucky Luciano went through making a calculator where you could calculate your debit card rewards and your staking rewards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that was a reference to Lucky, that Lambo calculator. That's all him.
Gotcha.
Floki could correct me. I think it was Boba or Mando that had actually some JavaScripts. I think it was with these calculators as well.
Mando, I believe.
Mando, right? Yeah,
had something.
I looked at them and they were good, but I just didn't have time to really dive in. And like we do need that kind of stuff. Like if we were able to like API, oh man, we could create such a beautiful dashboard. Oh.
Is that in the Discord somewhere?
Yeah, I'm sure it's pinned. If anything, I'll add you and I'll send to you. He created some Excel macros as well. That are pretty good too that you can activate. Because I just haven't had time to like get into it. But it's now with the debit card coming, it's like now I think I'm gonna look at it again.
Yeah, because I mean, if someone's already built it and I don't have to recreate the wheel, I'll not recreate the wheel.
Oh, perfect.
Going back to our juggling comments from earlier.
I'll find it for you. Yep, I got you, brother.
Yeah, but
Obi-Wan, you excited for the show, Obi-Wan?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
May 25th, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there. That
Yep, they announced it. Yep.
I just finished the Book of Boba Fett
Boba Fett,
yesterday.
right? So good.
Yeah,
so?
it was
Did you
really
like that
cool,
part?
especially at the end when
It was
Yo, what they did.
oh okay. I'm not gonna say anything, Floki. No,
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. It was just that last. I'm not gonna say what happened.
Don't say anything. Don't spoil anything.
Yo, I canceled all of my streaming services and my cable to buy VGX. All right, and
Except for Disney
waiting.
Plus.
That's commitment.
I'm waiting
man,
to
but you
watch
gotta-
the new
You gotta
stuff.
keep Disney, bro. Damn, I can't do that. I can do it with Netflix. I can let Netflix go, but that Disney Plus though, man.
Yeah, Disney Plus is pretty good. All right, JP. I won't say anything. We won't say anything.
I got a 2.5-year-old. Can you imagine my house without that?
No, you have to have Disney Plus. Disney Plus is key.
Like she's like
You
Mickey
have
Mouse
to have it.
Clubhouse.
Like
It's
Disney
Saturday
Plus and
morning
HBO
cartoon.
Max, and
Oh,
I mean,
Max is good.
I mean, I could go without Netflix and Hulu if I had to, but the other two, they have all the good movies and the best shows. So
Yeah. I think like how many of you guys have Amazon and like I never watch Amazon Video. Like I know I pay Amazon Prime for
that's the only thing I have because of my service.
Well,
yeah,
I'm waiting for
I
the
have
boys.
it for the delivery stuff, but like I have the video and I'm like I never get on Amazon Video. Like what?
The Boys is good. You know,
The Boys
watched
is
that
amazing. That's the only show that I've seen. That The Boys, man. Has the new season come out?
Not yet,
Vikings
but
on
they announced
Amazon.
it for spring.
Oh man, that show is
Vikings
like one of
on
my
it?
favorites.
I
Yeah,
do gotta get into that. Yeah, I gotta get into that.
That one, and then the cartoon one. It was like on something on. I forgot what it was. It was like his father is a superhero. God, what was it called? I don't know.
Invincibles.
Yeah, there you go. That one.
Invincibles. Yeah. That's the Image Comics.
Yeah,
that's from back in the day.
Good.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah. Man. Is it? Yes. When the bottom of this temporary downward trend is, man. I don't know, man.
I'll say this, right? So usually February is up, and then like March dips a little bit because like there's like that's like the first step of profit taking. Obi, right? You know it, right? Like there's like that's like the first marker they use is like, okay, this is my Q1 guaranteeing that first lockup for the year. That's like their base percentage that they base on what they need to make up for the rest of the year, or they're gonna stay level or be aggressive, less risky, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if we're gonna see that. A lot of people are expecting actually to go up, so I'm keeping some money on the side. I'm expecting a little dip. I don't know when, but we'll see.
I have my Roundly X and my Voyager dailies going to USDC to stockpile stablecoins in case the market goes south. But just in general, that's kind of I've used my stablecoin stash to buy the recent dips, so I'm trying to replenish that. And then if the market goes up, I've got exit points for certain assets that I'm going to take profits from. But I'm mostly just trying to stockpile stablecoin right now. I did a decent size VGX buy today. Took an adventurer out, but
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, I try to do that every once in a while. Just kind of that one's going into spaceport. No more. No one's getting that one. I still have not sold a single VGX.
Wow.
So I've been buying since December 2020.
Nice.
So
so you got it right before the right before it really took off, huh?
Yeah. I think 15 cents.
Nice.
Was the first buy-in.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I think the first third or so of the stockpile was acquired rather cheaply, but the other 2/3 of I've paid lots of money just like the rest of everybody. So
yeah, for sure.
You guys have all heard my thing probably at this point, but I continue to put money into VGX because it's like taking houses off the market. Eventually, if there's not enough supply of houses on the market, the price of the houses go up when people want to buy them. And I continue to get the more that I stack, the higher I can charge in rent for the houses that I own. So I'm getting that rental payment all the time. I don't have to worry about property tax. I don't have to worry about tenants. I don't have to worry about managing all the headaches. So I just keep taking property off the market, and then I get more rent, and it works out beautifully because I don't need that money right now. I'm stockpiling so that eventually, as VGX becomes discovered and the awareness goes up, the supply will get squeezed and the price will go up. And at that point in time, if it stabilizes at a certain rate where I'm financially free enough to no longer have to work for the money that I'm using to buy good assets, then I get to replace my job and do what I want with my time. That's the ultimate power play, right? And eventually the rewards that I make off of utilizing the platform and all the passive income, that will pay for the entire investment. So the amount of rewards earned times whatever price that is, and that price keeps going down every month because I keep accumulating and I keep getting more yield. So every single month that passes, my investment gets cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why when I first I did my bulk buy of VGX, and I kind of calculated the extra percentage and then getting the interest rate and whatnot. And I think my first initial purchase was like $2,500 when VGX was like at $4 or something. And I had done that calculation, and it pretty much, like, with my math, hoping that it was correct, it was like 4 or 5 years it would pay for itself. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna wait 4 or 5 years with it. It'll pay for itself. Just wait.
I said that today in the space. Pablo held it today. I know Big T is out. Our resident space host.
Yeah.
Which has been great. For spreading the word on Voyager and VGX. Is once you get on the passive income vehicle, you just stay on it, and you'll make your money back, and don't worry about X time versus that time. It's sort of unfortunately it only applies to long-term investments and investors and non-traders, because non-traders are obsessed with data. Literally, they're obsessed with data. Data means like money decay, your money sitting and losing value when they're obsessed
with options. No,
not even just yes, with options specifically,
They're
right?
Just obsessed with price, period.
Exactly, right. So yes, with options data, but in their mindset of them holding money, they have a certain amount that they literally have to make like every day, every week, and them staying flat or not making that drives them nuts, and they don't know how to be long-term investors. And this is why when people say 90% of investors lose their money, that's a little overstated, but it is kind of true. Like in reality, a lot of them actually do lose money because they're emotionally trading, and actually being an unemotional trader is extremely hard.
That's me. I'm a robot. I do the complete opposite of what the market does, and I win all the time.
Yeah.
Like I have a 99 point whatever. I outperformed 99.06% of traders on KuCoin last year.
Wow.
According to KuCoin stats. And It's very simple. I buy and I hold. and
the way to do it.
And I deploy bots in a way that works. And I have a strategy. So when the market is fearful, I will buy, and I'll buy exponentially more as the price goes down. And then when my price targets are hit on the way up, I do the exact same on the way out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't do those flashy like $2,000 buys. I instead do 500 today, 500 tomorrow, 500 day after that. And for me, it levels out a little bit better because you just can't time. It's impossible. Anyone who says they can time the market is lying. There's indicators, of course, and you can kind of see, but no one's going to know exactly which day and what time is the best time to buy to enter. So
yeah, I think that's
when the people on exchanges, usually what happens is they're getting over leveraged with margin, or they're constantly making moves. And I try to make moves that are, a year at a time or several months at a time, like a longer time horizon trader. The people that get caught up in the daily, the 15-minute charts, the 5-minute charts, the hour charts, those are the ones that are getting wrecked. Yeah. Unless you're okay with taking tiny, like 5% type profits and you're constantly having your face in front of a computer, that's not sustainable. Like you'll be gray, before you're 50 easily,
for sure.
Anyways, moral of the story is if you're bullish on something, buy it and hold it. And if you're bearish on something, trade it.
Floki, wait, how you doing, man? You sleepy over there?
I have like so many thoughts around this, and yes, a little sleepy as well. It is midnight all of a sudden. Yeah. When you get to that point where your passive income gets to a sustainable level, it makes me think what else is next, and what the priority is. But is debt to income ratio talked about at all during these spaces? Because people should be using other people's money to the most efficiency that you can. So that's the one, because I'm stuck in the property mind for some reason right now, and I think about like, what are the advantages to property versus when we know the digital asset kind of overall feels like the right thing. And all I could think about is, you could utilize property to accumulate more debt in arbitrage. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
You can. It comes with a lot of impairments, and on the spaces that we do, we kind of have to read the room, because some people have zero interest in real estate and some people don't understand it. So, and some people would just rather do the same kind of arbitraging opportunities or lending in DeFi. Not like me, I'm one of those people. Like I'd rather do the same kind of thing that, if I went and bought a second property and then, leverage that loan, I'm effectively doing that with like Anchor Protocol, right?
Right, because I would feel like, especially if you're young, if you're not maximizing your debt to income, you're missing out on some opportunity to make some money, especially if you're feeling secure in your income, in your day-to-day, in your normal job. If you feel like you could sustain that debt in the long run, it's going to be so worth it, because I feel like I'm just paying myself in the future,
Yeah, we were talking about, today there was a lot of discussion on arbitraging, about taking a loan at a cheap rate, using someone else's money, like you're saying, putting that in investments that get a better rate, and then keeping the difference, or paying off the loan.
What are like what are the better rates that you can do, like say for crypto loans? Like what are some of the best rates that you've seen out there?
Well, there's different types of loans. There are loans where you can get money easily and have a variable rate, and there are loans where you could take a fixed rate. And actually, and then there are puppy. My dog tried to get me to go to bed, and kind of gave up. Now that it's 2 a.m. So there are different types of loans, right? There are loans where your risk is money, or a loan to value ratio, and there are loans where your risk is time. And what I mean by that is that, like if you're going to take a loan out of something like an Edge protocol or a Meld, or any of these assets where you can borrow off your future yield, like Alchemy is another one, Liquality is another one. So if you want to borrow from your future yield, you're borrowing, you have a certain time horizon when that loan gets paid back, and then your principal is released back to you, right? So your risk is how long can you wait? Is that money you can lock up? So that's one form of risk. When it's a variable rate, you have to be fairly confident that you have sufficient cash flow or better returns in your investment that you can then pay off that loan or pay down that LTV if you have to. So that one requires a little bit more babysitting, but it can be more advantageous from a liquid perspective. And then you have ones where you might have a fixed borrower rate, but you might have to give up something valuable that you're not going to earn passive income on, as a right to take a loan off of that asset. Something like a Celsius loan, for example.
Yeah.
So you have to, then in that loan, you also have to kind of again, figure out what kind of loan to value ratio and rate you're willing to live with.
Yeah. So people who do like loan, because I've never really looked like, I mean, lately I've kind of been looking into it because grabs my attention, but I don't know like all the details. But it seems like it pretty much summed down. It's like you're getting, let's say, a loan at like 2 or 3% interest, and then you go and you put that money on something that gives you more return, right? And with those returns, you pay off the interest or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to do some math. When you give up collateral or you over collateralize a loan, by depositing those over collateralized assets in the lending protocol, you're giving up yield on those assets because that's what's going to the people on the other side of the loan.
Oh, I see. So
So there's a cost to carry there of, or cost of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's that price, plus there's the interest rate that you're paying. And so if you combine those two things, let's say that you're borrowing at 20%, but you then deploy that money that you took the loan out for, and you make something that makes a 50% return. Well, your net profit is 30%.
Got it.
Your cost to borrow is 20, your profit's 50, your new strategy is 50, you're making a 30% difference.
All right. So for example, like right now, like let's say on Voyager, I have some Bitcoin, right? And it's earning me, what is it? 4.5, 5.5, 4.5, something like that.
4.75.
4.75. If I were to use that for like a loan, to like crypto back loan or whatever, then I wouldn't be earning the interest on that anymore.
Right.
I see. Makes sense. Interesting.
Then it'd be too good to be true. Like, then you'll break the system.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that there are solutions where you can have your cake and eat it too.
I have seen some of those, where you're staking plus letting.
He's
but it's
what?
Kind of weird. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I went up to.
Yeah. So I can get into some of that, but I don't. It's 2 a.m, so I don't know how effective it would be.
I was gonna ask you, Obi, what are your thoughts on the interest governance for next year? What are you leaning towards? If you had to vote today, you're leaning keeping it at 7, lowering it, going higher. What would you think you're at?
I'm not sure what we would get to vote on. I'm guessing that the growth pool is probably a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have to probably put up a proposal of altering the smart contract from 7% to something different. I don't know what that something different would be. It's kind of like you have to go through a series of votes. Do you keep paying interest? Yes or no? Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want 5%
number,
or 7%? And then it's binary. You're picking one or the other. Mm-hmm. Right. And then the majority rules with a quorum of, say, maybe you need 30% of VGX holders to vote in order for it to pass.
Yeah.
And then there's the other question too, like, are you voting by number of VGX tokens held?
Yeah.
Or are you voting by number of holders?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody holds more tokens, like, so say I own 20,000 and you own 5,000, I should have more say, right? Theoretically, I have more invested. Although that's all relative.
Although that's relative when you enter, what did you? Yeah, what was your entry cost? Or do it at VGX value?
That's too hard to calculate.
There's a lot
right?
of that's too hard. Yeah, that's a little bit too much. I mean, I kind of like the unique holders. Kind of being kind of flat, but you're right. There's definitely a lot of questions, and I do wish that they started that earlier than later. Mm-hmm. I hope that they do realize that there are a lot of questions. For me personally, I think I'm just leaning it at keeping it exactly at 7. I wouldn't want to drastically change because I think we're still early. I think we still need to be attractive for newer holders, especially with Canada and especially with Europe, because I do believe the other rates will decrease, and then that would only make VGX more attractive. So that's my assessment.
Yeah, I mean, 7% in terms of DeFi is not even that aggressive for most staking things.
Yeah.
So if I had to vote today, I would vote to keep it. I think that
ice cream gangster.
Nice. So
Or yogurt.
you probably heard me say this too, but if your user base is inflationary and you want more people to join the loyalty program, you need inflationary tokenomics.
Mhm.
Because you have to be able to distribute those tokens to people that can then take advantage of joining the program. So, and you want to reward the people that have worked to the level that they need to have passive income, right? And you want those people to sell off the token so it redistributes it to the newcomers, right? So you want to have some form of sell pressure and buy pressure. You just want to make sure that the buy pressure outstrips the selling pressure so that the price of the token continues to climb.
Right. Otherwise, we would have to just continue buying VGX forever because eventually you would sell below your tier and you'd lose your benefits. Yeah. Exactly.
So you have to. So I think it needs to be inflationary up until the point where the users are no longer inflationary to make the buy side demand that we need.
What do you guys think about that? I know Space Coast, you saw the little poll that I put, right?
Yeah, I commented first vote.
Yeah, you got the first vote. Cool. Man, that's something I really want.
I definitely would, because for me it's a long time hold. So for a long time hold. So what is holding what is putting my VGX in jail? Now, earlier in the stream I was preaching that you don't want it to be forced on you. You don't want it to be the feature to say, hey, we offer X kind of staking, but you have to put it in jail for X amount of time. You want it to be liquid. That's actually a positive feature. But if they gave you the option to say, hey, for a bonus, would you take X amount of your VGX and lock it up? I absolutely would, because I'm going to be here for a long time. So why would I not take advantage of that?
Exactly.
Now, the company, because they would have to dip into their revenue reserves to pay the bonus, they would have to also be able to, if you're gonna lock up your rewards. So there's different. It depends also what you mean by the term lock up. Like, are you referring to it in the traditional sense of a certificate of deposit, or is it free for them to be able to use rehypothecation? Or are they just going to use the staking and then pay the bonus for locking up the supply? So theoretically, the price of the asset goes up. Generally
probably the latter, which is the most common one for crypto right now, right? Which is using the lockup as a feature to push price action, right? I'm not a huge fan of it as the built-in tokenomics of it, and I agree with you, because to me that's terrible. It's the same thing as building a high supply with built-in burn as a feature to build up price pressure. Is not good utility or tokenomics. But I think it should be maybe possible as an option.
Yeah, I think like one thing that really like turned me off from crypto.com was that they force it on you. Like, if you want this, like, you have to lock it up. And I was like, nah, that's one thing that I was like, yeah, I don't like crypto.com. But the Crow token, I feel like it does have a sense of like stability because of it, though. Like, so many people kind of like forced to lock it up that it just kind of keeps the price at a certain stable price. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that options are always better, and that is definitely the plus side of having lockups, is a sense of stability. But if you think about the narrative behind that, you want freedom. Like, you want the freedom. If that should be the baseline, right? I think that was the right way to go about it. And to think of it as a choice of one or the other, I don't look at it that way at all. I just think that they're going to implement it later.
Yeah.
And we just have to wait, because it would make sense to also have that feature. And tying that into the voting aspect of things, wouldn't time as a holder be a valuable thing to consider your way to vote? A somewhat tiered system, depending on how long you hold a certain amount, it accumulates. So the longer you've been in the system, the heavier vote you have. Because again, yes, the amount of coin you could afford is relative to the lifestyle that you live, but that's just a reality. So a slight tiered system that accumulates over time, I think, would be interesting. Because otherwise, someone who's been here for 5 years versus someone who's been in here for 1, maybe that person that's been here for 1 drops just like $1 million down versus the person that's been here for 5 with like a normal guy, with like, low end 6 figures, all of a sudden gets pushed to the side vote wise. Like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I guess that's accurate towards the retail investor angle that Voyager leans.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that idea, like some sort of like equation where time and the amount that you have, and I don't know, coming. Who's a mathematician here? Floki, you a mathematician? Come up with it.
I mean, I think about numbers. The simple way to break it down is by the tier. How long do you hold the tier for?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So if there's 5 tiers, you get 5 points. If the top tier, if there's 5 tiers, you get 5 votes. Or whatever. And then the next year, if you're also, then you'd have 10 the next year. I don't know, or something along those lines. You have to, but you get the point. You know, the longer you hold your tier, the more vote points you have when it comes down to government.
I like it.
So
I think we're also carving out the folks that are international as well who do get a vote that are not tiered technically.
Right. Is it fair to start counting that vote during expansion? That's tough, because then all of a sudden the argument becomes, well, they didn't have the same playing field that they did because we were here first. So we accumulated more vote points. So when do you start doing something? When do you hit the clock to say, okay, from this point in time, we start valuing your vote as a customer?
I don't think they'll start governance until 2023. Personally, I don't expect it in 2022.
I'm thinking
even though
later.
They said this September we'll vote, because I do remember, we asked Steve in the spaces, and he did say next year. I remember him saying specifically, next year the community will vote.
Yeah, but
right. I mean, listen, this is CFI. I know they can just change the rules. I get it, and I'm aware.
But vote on what?
I think it's the interest rate. I think right now at the most rudimentary, this is what we know.
Yeah,
I know that there's more, but
I think we're making that assumption. I don't think we know.
Yeah,
we could vote on. There could be all
written
sorts of
in some
things we can
places.
vote on.
Yeah, I know that they kind of left it general, but I do know that what Steve acknowledged is that rate.
Well, I think it's on the white paper too, right? Like it says, like the holders will pick the interest rate or something like that.
Yeah.
So going back to the whole lockup or certificate of deposit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary if you have collateralized lending or being able to lend off your future yield, because you're getting the benefits up front of getting access to your money quickly, and then the tokens are being locked up, and whether or not Voyager wants to use those tokens to redistribute, if it's cheaper for them, to other people on the platform. By the time you close out their loan, they're gonna have to weigh the risk, right? Because they'd have to effectively repay you, like if they chose to use the locked up tokens for the loan to create more money.
Good night, Draken.
There should be something in it for the company. It shouldn't just be we're going to offer lending, for the sake of offering lending and getting nothing out of it, right? There should be some kind of win-win scenario. So whether or not that's, locking up tokens for a long period of time and seeing their growth pool marketing dollars go further, or whether that's, locking things up for a long period of time and keeping customers more sticky on the platform, or maybe they can take some of those tokens that are being locked up for lending and, like I said, redistribute them, or just take the staking rewards themselves, and grow their treasury through what's being staked. Yeah. There's all sorts of possibilities, but all of those things are going to lock up the token. And the very meaning of the loyalty program, where you have a tiered system and say you've got 5 tiers, like in my proposal, for example.
Dude, by the way, I love your
the tier floor is its own form of lockup. It's just a liquid lockup. So, I mean, you're not going to go out of your tier, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, if you've worked so hard to get to a navigator or an explorer and you're in the top 5% of the customer base, you're not going to want to give that up. No way. No chance.
I will lock up my VLP tier in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. As would I. Like if I could lock up a token tier and just say if a year's worth of interest paid to me now at whatever price it is, and then if the price exceeds that, then I get my access to my funds again. That's a self-repaying loan, right? I need to write a thread out about this.
Yeah, that's yeah.
But
And like you said, it accomplishes the same thing as just having a traditional lockup that's just paid by revenue.
Right.
It would be a better and more efficient system. That way.
Right, because the customers are getting what they want, and that we're getting a loan, which saves us a taxable event. Now, there's some questions on that too. Like if you're borrowing off your future yield, that's interest that would have been paid in taxes. So there's probably some kind of taxable event off of that scenario as income tax, as opposed to capital gains. Whereas if you're over collateralizing a loan and taking lending, that's not necessarily a taxable event because you're foregoing your interest in order to get the money up front. So there's advantages to both structures of a collateralized or, loan that is involving borrowing from future yield.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to sleep in a bit because I coach basketball and I got a game at 8 a.m.
Well, that's rough.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go to sleep in a bit. But hey, what do you guys think? Who's up for a on earnings day on the 15th? Who's up for it live?
If it's during the work day, I won't be able to do it. If it's at night, like a Tuesday night, I could probably do it.
Tuesday night because I work during the day too, so I can't. But like afterwards, just check out the earnings. You up for it, Space Ghost?
Possibly. Let's see. That's a Tuesday.
I'll send you guys.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll see what time we decide.
Yeah. Floki, you're invited. You're invited if you want to come too. Obi-Wan, you want to break it down for us?
I think you should just do it and see who joins you. I think you should just throw it out there and do it.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Should we? What do you think? Call it a night?
Yeah, I mean it's a fascinating topic. I mean, I really want to see some VLP information come out.
Yeah,
I really want to see if they go with that 50 token tier or where it's 100 tokens. I think 50 is personally the better number to go with.
Yeah.
But and when they say higher tier, I really hope it's a 10,000 tier, not higher than 20.
Hopefully.
But I mean, I think people assume it to be higher than 20. But I mean, if you go higher than 20,000, who's qualifying for that? Like your top 100 customers?
25, 100 people.
Your top 100 out of 1.2 million. I mean, it's like, well, why?
Yeah.
We'll see. And then there's always the question of, well, what would that even look like? Is that 40,000 tokens? 50,000 tokens? Like when you get beyond 50,000 tokens, you kind of get into the absurd, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like, again, I bring up crypto.com a lot, but tiers are horrible on crypto.com. It's like the top tier is like $400,000 worth of crow. I'm like, what? Like who?
Right. And that's just not very, I mean, who's in that tier, right? Very few high net worth individuals or people that got there extremely early.
Exactly.
And we're very bullish on crypto.com for some reason.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it makes me think 30 or 40, 50 feels a lot, but we'll see. Or maybe some sort of scalable utility could solve this.
The other question is if you're a business, do you have a business VLP that's separate from the retail VLP? And if you do, why would you probably want to gear that more on assets under management as opposed to token counts, right? Because you wouldn't have a separate VGX token for businesses, and you wouldn't necessarily want businesses buying out the retail customers, driving the price to oblivion right up front, because then you're going to have to redo your whole VLP program. The problem is that when they started the VLP at 500, 5,000, and 20,000, I don't think that when they were designing the tokenomics, they kind of thought, well, what does that mean with our given supply in terms of potential customers?
It was 100% short. We reached their goal 2 years early, and that you can see that in the tokenomics. That's why the supply is so small. That's why they had to up the debit, because they did not expect this kind of revenue and growth so fast.
Hey, investing guy, sorry, buddy, not going to sleep. Sorry, man.
Hey, man, I've had worse.
I'm actually about to be out.
But that's an interesting. That's an interesting thought. You say asset under management, business account. What's to stop them from having some sort of business account asset under management reward based system down the line?
Yeah, for institutional.
Nothing. There's nothing stopping them that could do that.
Right.
Or a separate reward system for whatever stocks. Like, who knows how they're going to roll this thing out? I think the unknown is the upside with Voyager, which is so exciting.
Well, they say that they're focused on retail and small business, and that that's the primary focus. That's their main driver. And they say that VGX is the lifeblood of the rewards program. But if you mix consumer and retail in the same sandbox, the scale is just, it can't happen. So in my mind, you have to shift larger than a small business into some form of AUM based incentive program, where you give them something similar to what you give a consumer, maybe in terms of interest or money back, but maybe to a lesser scale, just because they're going to have a larger balance to begin with. But you give them some kind of incentive or reward system. Maybe it's a 2-tier reward system, 2 or 3 tier, and it's just based on AUM or revenue spend, something like that. Obviously, you'd have a different debit card too, right? You wouldn't put them in the same debit card rails that, the $25,000 limit or $2,500 a day or whatever. There's no way, right? So, hey Ryoshi, that is on Instagram and on Twitter. If you look at Steve's Twitter.
I think we played it earlier, right? Space Coast.
Yeah,
it was on
on his Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think
we played earlier.
You're going to have institutional. I think they're going to tie in the Coinify and the payments and the card and affiliate programs. I think the card is going to get sweetened by affiliate deals, similar to like what StormX runs, where you get extra boosters for using the card. I think there'll be certain intangibles they can build into the rewards system. But
so you think like they'll have like I think the Amazon card kind of runs something like that, right? Like I know that they've done like get 10% if you spend it on Starbucks or something like that. You think they'll do partnerships like that?
Yeah.
The Voyager card? Yeah.
Yeah. Because they can use it as a marketing tool to drive foot traffic or online traffic to retailers.
Yeah.
So the retailers benefit from the marketing funnel and from the additional business, and they give a kickback to, like a finder's fee or referral fee to the, through their affiliate marketing program.
That's going to be cool.
Bit of a kickback to the people driving the traffic, which would be Voyager. And Voyager would probably take like a 1 to 10% cut and pass on the rewards to us, because that's kind of what their MO is.
Yeah. That'll be cool. So have they said they're going to do that, or just kind of?
I've heard the word affiliate shopping and hinted at from both Steve and Pam.
Oh, nice. Cool.
In interviews. So I'm drawing the conclusion that it would be.
That's exciting.
Whether or not there's some integration with StormX or something there, I don't know. But they said, what Steve said specifically in regards to this was that merchants were already reaching out to them about affiliate program, like offering discounts to their customers.
Yeah. So
it's got to be in there. Plus, they just hired a guy in the U.S. to manage payments, like the Coinified side of payments for the U.S. market, North American market, and of course, they've already got a team over in the Netherlands from Coinify, where they're already in 120 different countries, and they've got that program. And then you roll out Voyager Pay, right? So now you can pay at a terminal with a QR code and skip with your Voyager app.
Nice.
Like a Strike system. where you just completely bypass having to use the card. You just do that through Coinify through a QR at a point of sale, like a Square terminal.
Yeah. Do you think they'll ever get to a point where it'll be like kind of like Apple Pay, where you just tap the phone? Poop, poop.
Yeah, most likely it'll be QR code because that's easier to implement. It's less expensive.
Wait, well, you can add your. Are you going to be able to add to your Voyager card, debit card, onto like Apple Pay or something? Because you could upload certain cards, right?
Well, potentially to Google Pay, but will that have the rewards?
Google Pay,
add to it? I'm not sure. So, in the terms and conditions that we were reading last night, is they said you can get a virtual card or you can get a physical card, or multiple copies of a physical card. So if you look to the virtual card, you're probably, it's probably going to work in that way, like an Apple Pay. It's more secure, but then you're not going to get a secondary card to give your significant other or kid.
Oh, I see.
So, in a physical card, you saw the picture of Steve's card. There's no numbers on the front. It's all chip. So it's going to be harder for people to just take that information without like an RFID chip reader or NFC kind of skimmer type thing. Like your waiter at a restaurant isn't going to like take a picture of your card or write down your numbers and then use that to go shopping.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the things that they can do in the analog world today, right? Anybody who has access to one of your checks or your cards can, defraud you. So, I mean, it's kind of scary how much trust is in the existing system. It's very unsecure.
I know. Yeah, that always scares me, especially when I go to like little websites that I don't really know much about, and I'm going to buy something. I'm like, am I really going to put in all my credit card info in this website? And then I end up doing it.
And there's tons of phishing scams out there. That's why Apple Pay and GPay and Samsung Pay are so popular, right? They use randomized cards, and you're using either near field communication or you're using a QR code, and that's going to make a unique transaction, much like something you'd see on a blockchain. I mean, it's not exactly as secure as a blockchain, but it's way superior to the traditional payment rail systems.
For sure.
I know you're starting to fade out here.
I gotta be out.
Yeah, be out.
Yeah.
All right.
No, sweet.
It's time for me.
Yeah. Let's call
Brooklyn,
it.
dude.
Love you guys.
Hey,
Yeah, I gotta go.
Space Ghost. Peace, homie.
Later, Space Ghost. Let's call it a night.
Yeah, definitely.
Right,
it
sure.
is late.
It is late. Yeah. All right, guys. See you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.